and again, thanks for the invite. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to share more about Klimaka Studios. It's come a long way in just a couple years, and just happy to share where we are now and how you can have access to the program. So the tagline, Fabric for the Joy and Profit of Workrooms, is what I'm excited to share. It all began way back, so this is now 30 years ago, in my workroom at Crabapple Interiors at the time, when I was working on a valance, a London shade, and realizing, oh my gosh, in order to center the repeat, it might not be possible to center that big sailboat unless we cut a little bit off one side and attach it to the other. And luckily it worked out. But you can imagine if the fabric was just a couple inches shorter or the sailboat was placed somewhere else, we might have really had a challenge. And it made me start to think, wow, what if we could just print a sailboat in the middle and have the inverted pleats maybe even be a contrast color, but that all be printed in rather than painstakingly pieced together as we are familiar with as custom workrooms. So back in 1994 is when really started thinking about, how much easier would things be if they could be engineered? And then jump 10 years later, we founded Adaptive Textiles and started with our first inkjet printer. And then over the years, that evolved into providing services for textile designers so that they could launch entire collections of fabric on demand. And then jump another several years later, and we started working on our SWOT analysis. I know many of you are familiar with doing SWOT analysis. It was something that that businesses do often annually in order to help set goals for the year. Well, this was the strengths column. Remember SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. In 2023, doing this internal work at Adaptive Textiles was a realization that we really needed to move on this idea of Klimaka Studios. And the reason why was because we recognized some strengths within Adaptive Textiles. We recognized that we have 40 plus years of workroom experience. That's basically because I'm that old that I can have 40 plus years of workroom experience. Also, we have, because of Adaptive Textiles, we had color and inkjet expertise. Because of the growth of Adaptive Textiles and the growth of the team, we had a huge capacity for rapid prototyping, and also a lot of internal talent on our team. We've got a few actual artists, one with a fine arts degree and others just budding absolute natural talent in art. And also their experience in setting repeats and all those things that you do as you're building a collection. And we also, over the 20 years at Adaptive Textiles, had developed many connections with artists and textile designers that might lead us to some licensing opportunities for a collection that we might create in-house. And the accessibility of what was developing as our workroom target market, because of the development of the workroom marketplace and the workroom channel, it just all made sense. It all made sense that we go off in a direction where we have Adaptive Textiles continue to manage the collections of our current client base, but also let's do something on our own. Let's do something on our own and let's make it for workrooms, because that's what we know. Klimaka Studios, this in-house brand for Adaptive Textiles, comes from the word Klimaka, which means ladder, scale, gamut. It's a Greek word. And so it just also sparked this idea of the perfect name, because not only do we have flexibility of scale in design, but we also we're quite focused on the growth and scalability of the workrooms that I know and serve. And so the name Klimaka Studios came from that. Why Workrooms, you might ask? Why is this fabric collection designed for the joy and profit of Workrooms? Well, this is it in a nutshell. We already know you and we already share your pain. And that's just because of the years and years of connections with all of you in the industry. We also realize that many workrooms today offer fabric and wallpaper and prefer, even if they're to the trade, even if they're not retail, prefer often to have their interior designer clients order through them so that they can have control over reorders if necessary, yardage estimations and things like that. Not all do it that way, but there are increasing numbers of more full service to the trade workrooms. We also had the understanding that workrooms, like the sewers on my staff here, get really excited by and can benefit from the most innovative types of prints, the prints that involve perhaps the option to railroad or engineered layouts. You get excited about those things because you understand the time savings. So for example, this fabric, which is a basic ticking stripe that is offered at Adaptive Textiles, is available as a railroaded stripe, as shown, or also up the roll. So that depending on your project, you could order the fabric in a different orientation. And it hit us that with our capabilities to do this, it doesn't make sense to launch something like that in a collection geared to just interior designers, because interior designers don't often have the understanding of why this might be important in the fabrication of a project. And so from that SWOT analysis in 2023, we devoted a lot of time and energy into the development of a collection. We started partnering with artists. We started with some designs that we created in-house and started building our first textile collection for Klimaka Studios. As we did that, we incorporated some original artwork from Casey Dech, who you might see the name is a little familiar. He's my youngest, and they here at Adaptive work on color. They are basically the go-to for color management for our print clients here. And with their budding interest in oil painting, we incorporated some of our newest designs were made by taking that one painting and then scanning it and arranging it in different repeats. So for example, that one painting created our first design for Klimaka Studios, which then budded into several designs, and it is all based on that one painting. Palm stripe, you see those little tiny brush strokes there in that Roman shade? Those are the exact brush strokes from that original oil painting. So palm stripe is one of our first fabrics. It comes in many colorways. Nina Isabella used it in her course on the shades that have two layers, or top down, bottom up, and those were the shilly shally shade. That's what she calls it. So those fabrics were first used in that, and it works great in a shade like a shilly shally shade, because with palm stripe, there's palm stripe and there's palm stripe sheer, and they have the same repeat, the same print. They're just one's on a sheer fabric and one's on a linen fabric. And so you have this wonderful coordinating option between a sheer and an opaque fabric which allows you to do really creative things with especially Roman shades, like a shilly-shally shade. Nina shares how to do that start to finish in her course from the Workroom channel. This is a shade sample from Elke Horn, who was one of our beta testers. In fact, we have, I think a couple of you watching were part of the beta program in 2024 who worked to help develop the collections, provide feedback on the processes, and also create samples and work with the fabric so that we could have the best, the best and most feedback from Workrooms for the collection. This particular Roman shade is using, again, palm in color wheat, and then a pattern called Sanfi, also in color wheat. And then we also sell the unprinted fabric that coordinates with the printed fabrics. So these were created by Elke as a beta tester. She created a bunch of coordinating Roman shades in her, the method that Elke uses with the ribs hidden in the black outlining. And it was really kind of cool to see how palm, which is, if you look to the right, the shade is in palm color wheat. And that has a radial symmetry that was also inspired by that one oil painting and created these kind of palm repeats. But when you put it in a hobbled Roman shade, it actually looks quite like palm stripe, which just, goes down in a straight repeat down the length of the fabric. So from there, we just kept pushing, kept developing more designs, kept partnering with artists. These fabrics are ones that evolved from an employee of ours, Kathleen Fitzpatrick, who has her own line of textiles called Tie-Up Textiles. And she has allowed us to license some of her designs for the Klimaka collection. And here's the inspiration board as we were using Sanfi, and then she's got several other designs that we incorporated into the program. Partnering with a local artist here, Sarah Rafferty of Atwater Designs. Sarah Bourne Rafferty is her name. She does botanical prints, and we've partnered with her to basically take scans of the cyanotype prints and then use that to create beautiful designs and repeat in various colorways. So here are a few other Klimaka patterns from Atwater Designs. And then from there, with the beta developers, we then had to look at the business model for Klimaka Studio and try and figure out, okay, yeah, we know we want to serve workrooms, but in doing that, what would be the best way to sample the fabrics? What do the workrooms need in order to show the fabrics to clients? And so we developed a swatch program where swatches are free to workroom accounts by going to the website and just ordering them. And then we ship them out next day free from next day via USPS for free. Those swatches then are used for something you can show your clients. They show the repeat. And then we're also working now on larger hanging samples for showrooms that, for workrooms that actually have showrooms or studios attached. Also with the baiters, we were working on a variety of different fabrics that would be compliant for upholstery projects and would pass that California fire rating test. And so this, one of our fabrics, which is a velvet, we print on the velvet, have several designs, and are confident that it's suited for upholstery because of that compliance. Here are a few of the print designs printed on the velvet that are now available. You can see how cool just how wonderful the velvet prints look when they're made into finished products. There's just a simple knife edge pillow, simple ticking stripe, but it has such a luster and richness because of the velvet fabric it's printed on. Okay, so before I get into the pricing, do we have any questions? Help you understand a little bit about how these fabrics are priced.
I don't have any questions yet, just a couple of comments about how cool everything is.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So with the pricing, again, we are geared towards serving workrooms. And so workrooms receive the best pricing. We do have published retail pricing on the website so that even without an account set up, you could send your clients there to browse if you like, or if they stumble upon it, the pricing that they would observe is a full retail price. On the website with a trade account, designers can receive 50% off the retail price. But workrooms receive 20% off the trade pricing for a total of 60% off the published retail price. And that is so that workrooms with your expertise can be in the position to, even if you are to the trade, you could sell it to the interior designer or price it accordingly, and they wouldn't be able to get it for the same or a better price than you. So this allows you to even supply the fabric to your designer accounts. Now, I know not everyone in the virtual chapter is a workroom. So if you are an interior designer or an interior decorator, you would be able to qualify for the trade pricing. But there are certain things that you would have access to if you were a workroom that aren't available to interior designers. And I'll share a little bit more about that as we move through the presentation. So here we go again with Palm Stripe. So as an example, Palm Stripe is printed on 100% cotton. It's a great fabric. It got a really nice hand, and it really the color, the pigment print colors really develop nicely on this particular cloth. They just show nicely. So it's actually not 100% cotton, it's 10% linen. Sorry, I got that wrong. But it is just a wonderful hand to this fabric. That fabric, the retail pricing on the website is $98. The trade pricing is $49, and the workroom pricing, if you're setting up a wholesale workroom account, the price that you would receive and that you would see on the website when logged in as your account is $39.20. So many of the fabrics fall around anywhere from like $39 and up wholesale workroom. Here's a case study I'd like to share. We worked very closely early on with Phillips Window Workroom. You see Mary and her daughter there in that picture. There's a real Workrooms tour showing their workroom. If you haven't seen it, it's a really good one to watch. They've been in the business forever, and with the daughter joining the business, they're in also transitioning to the next generation. So it's quite fun to take the tour of their workroom and see how they've grown the business throughout the years. But anyway, they're local to me, and I used their rug samples in the front of their studio. They sell rugs and fabric, and of course, they're a full-blown workroom. I was looking for a rug for my own house, and so found this wonderful a rug from their collection and thought, okay, well, this is really good because I wanted to use a Klimaka fabric for the drapes in that family room. And what better than to have the rug inspire a particular colorway? And so we did that. We created then a fabric, Palm Stripe, which was one of our first fabrics, created a colorway that coordinated with the rug in the room. So now we have Palm Stripe brick. And then was the understanding that, okay, if these fabrics are for workrooms, we should consider the repeat in the development of the fabric, the repeat so that it is designed for most common pleat sizes. So that instead of painstakingly trying to do that work on your end, you can trust that, at least with palm stripe, that you've got a really good vertical and horizontal repeat to make the easiest construction for pinch pleat drapery panels. So here's, again, that's the retail price. Palm stripe is $39.20 wholesale to Workrooms. But if you look here at the grayed out full width fabric image, you can see that how this fabric is arranged makes it ideal for pinch pleat fabrication. And so I'm going to point out a few things. First of all, the horizontal repeat, the 17.3, is covering 2 stripes, which makes a stripe a little less than 9 inches, which is ideal, isn't it? When you're setting up pinch pleats, if you have a horizontal repeat, a single stripe repeating at 9 inches or a little less than 9 inches, usually anywhere from like 8 to 11 is ideal, then this fabric can yield at least 5 pleats per width, and you can pleat to pattern very easily. I know that if you're a workroom, you get this. You understand how much this can save. It can create a design element, which allows you to design a room around knowing that either the light color or the dark color would be your pleat forward. But also you understand the time savings and not having to kind of fudge that on your own. Okay, so pleating to pattern then is either with the light stripe or the dark stripe is something easily done with this fabric. The other thing you'll notice is the stripes are offset. Why would that be beneficial to a workroom? Well, the stripes are offset so that as you pattern match a seam, you might not even be able to see that. Can you see that seam? It's matched well, but just about an inch to the right of my finger there is a vertical seam that is connecting 2 widths of fabric. And because the stripe is offset, that seam is falling not in the front of the pleat, not in the back of the pleat, but on the side of the pleat, which is the ideal placement for a seam to be invisible. So palm stripe, as kind of simple as the design is, it features some of the capabilities of Klimaka in that it's laid out in a way for maximum workroom benefit. Another thing I'll point out on this one is you'll notice in the selvages of the fabric, the arrows showing up direction. So we didn't want to miss that. That's something that we can easily throw into the print. You'll notice this one, the arrow is pointing up and down, and that's because this fabric can flip completely horizontally, and it is the same. It is symmetrical up and down, so you can have A panels and B panels and flip them, and you only have an 8.8-inch repeat, so you're really going to be conserving fabric considerably with this design, even if you have to pattern match and do multiple widths. So when I'm talking about A panels and B panels, like if you wanted the leading edge to, instead of continuing the pattern, but the leading edge is mirror each other, then you're in a situation where this fabric is ideal, because all you need to do is flip your left panel upside down and you will have the symmetry in the leading edges. So there's that fabric. Because the dark color is the pleat forward, you can see when the drapes are somewhat bunched, it looks more like a textured solid. But when the drapes are drawn open, you really see that lighter stripe, and I'm sorry, drawn closed and completely covering, you see that lighter stripe. Here also, you'll see an engineered ball pillow that is one of the pillow designs I'd like to share with you. Any questions at this moment about the layout of Palm Stripe?
No questions. There's just, Catherine says you're an engineering genius and, lots of compliments.
Awesome.
Everybody,
I
your samples that you're showing are lovely. And just so you all know, these fabrics are beautiful, beautiful fabrics. I've touched and felt them. They're lovely.
Jennifer was in the beta program. Yeah, yeah. So awesome. Okay, so let's talk about some engineered pillows and some other engineered designs. So not only Palm Stripe is available as a fabric ideal for draperies, but it is also available printed on the bias in the wedges to make ball pillows, so that you can create the beautiful round pillows that you get when you do the different gores on the bias, but it creates a horizontal stripe around the pillow. So that engineered stripe is something that is available only to workroom accounts. Okay, and the engineered designs are a feature of that type of account, because could you imagine if I tried to present this to somebody who didn't sew? It just kind of doesn't make sense. So the engineered designs available to workroom accounts only. And also a horizontal stripe, again, in a ball pillow, but the stripe is printed on the bias, so you still get the roundness in the pillow. And there you go. You get what a perfectly round pillow when you have those cores on the bias, but you wouldn't know it with the print being on the bias. There you can see a little more of the palm stripe in the background and how it looks when the drapes are drawn closed. Here's another engineer design. We're all familiar with poofs and how popular they are these days, continue to be popular. This is a round, well, a cylinder poof pattern. And in this case, it is also engineered so that the circles for the top and bottom are cut. And then also in the scrap area, which would normally be trashed, we slide in some swatches so that it's just not wasted. You'll see that coming up in several other engineer designs as well. So there's an engineer design for a poof cylinder. We've created engineered designs for welt edge pillows. So normally if you were creating this striped welt edge pillow with a contrast black welt, you would require, you'd probably need to get a yard or two of the face fabric. You'd especially if there's a minimum from whatever company you're ordering from, and then you'd need to get at least a yard and a half to cut your bias welt. But if you order an engineered welt pillow from Klimaka Studios, this is what you can expect. A layout where you get 2 engineered welt pillows. The contrast welt is printed in on the bias, and the scrap is used for 4 more swatches, 4 more examples to sell to the next client. Here's what it looks like when rolling it out on your table. So that's 4 pillow squares, 4 faces and backs, the bias cut welt, and it all fits in about 2.2 yards of fabric. So you can imagine what a savings that is to a workroom. If they know they're doing contrast welt pillows and they want the contrast to match perfectly with the stripe, Here we have a situation where it will match perfectly because it's printed in the same run with the same inks, and then laid out in a way that you're cutting, instead of being something that you save for the most experienced person in your workroom, often yourself. When you're cutting, you can actually pass that to a new hire, somebody who doesn't even have any sewing experience, because what they're doing in this case is cutting on a gray line. That particular stripe is available in 4 colorways. It is also TB 117 compliant, so it's a decent upholstery fabric, and it also these 4 colorways are available in those engineer designs that I just shared.
Jeanelle, I have
Yes.
a question. They're wanting to know what is the cost to Workrooms for the engineered design pillows?
It works out to it's quite similar to the yardage amount for the engineered design. So I have an example a little bit later where I've got that pricing for you. I think this one is about, I think this one is a little over $100, where it then allows you to get 2 pillows with welt. So
Right.
you can see how that's a considerable savings to buying what might be in some cases 4 yards of fabric, 2 of the contrast and 2 if you have a minimum order. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Yep, and those prices are also when you set up a workroom account and you have access to that section of the website, those prices are right there with the picture of the engineered designs. Here's another design that came out last summer, and it is one that was based on a cyanotype from the artist Atwater Designs, and available in 4 colorways. The reason why I'm sharing it with you, though, is it is part of the reason for the layout as this kind of random scattered fern design was to make it an ideal slipcover fabric. This fabric is printed on a cotton drill, which is like it's a twill weave, right? So it's really durable cotton fabric. It washes really well. So if you're into pre-washed slip covers, this is a great fabric. And then also because of the kind of randomness in the tossed layout, you probably wouldn't even think about doing pattern matching. I certainly wouldn't. There's enough of a kind of jumble of the layout that I wouldn't spend the time to pattern match. Instead, I would conserve fabric, and you see, you don't even notice that back to the seat, to the rise of the boxing of the box cushion, to the nose of the chair. You don't even, it's such a randomness in the pattern, you don't even notice that those aren't pattern matched. So even though it's got a decent size repeat, it was designed to be one where you could ignore the pattern match and conserve fabric and make it ideal for a slipcover. This slipcover was done at the Slipcover Summit in Tryon, North Carolina, hosted by Workroom Tech last fall. So it was done by a group of people with me working on this particular chair, and it was done for an inn. That was a great event. If anyone is thinking about when the next time it comes around, if you're into slipcovers, you gotta join us for that event. Okay, so ideal slipcover fabric. This fabric was pre-washed. So it was cut in some lengths and put in a washing machine and a hot dryer. And so this slipcover now, as it is, could be washed over and over without issue. So ideal slipcover fabric in Dancing Ferns, which is that design. And then here's one of our most recent designs, same artist. And it is on that same cloth, that cotton drill. It's a super washable fabric. But this one has a really unique layout, also designed for slipcovers upholstery, because it is a design that is railroaded, where the up is going selvage to selvage. Okay. For slipcovers and upholstery, that's an ideal layout. And this design, we wanted it to be kind of these bamboo stalks sprouting from the ground, and just a nice spattered kind of denim look at the top. So this design, Nandino, means bamboo. Nandino denim is one that has a railroaded layout. There's something special about the layout, though, in addition to just being railroaded, and that is it is laid out so that it's a wide fabric. It's 63.5 inches wide, right? So it's a nice wide print, but it's laid out so that the bottom section of that Nandino design is repeated. So you've got a good 52, almost 54 inches, right, of the regular railroaded print. But in addition to that, you have an 11-inch strip that is a repeat of the bottom section of that fabric. Now, why would we want to do that? Again, it's about conserving fabric, right? We all know if you make slipcovers or do upholstery, you know that you might have to pattern match the boxing strip, and you might have to pattern match the nose of the chair. So by having that additional 11-inch strip, that means you don't have to cut into a whole other width of fabric in order to get those pattern matched pieces. This particular project will be a start to finish presentation for the Curtains and Soft Furnishings Resource Library in March. So in March, the circle time for the library is basically this project start to finish, talking about yardage calculation, layout, and also the importance of this, the way the repeat is set up horizontally. This, again, is that same cotton drill, so it is a wonderful fabric for pre-washing if you do pre-wash slipcovers. I didn't used to do pre-wash slipcovers, but that was before we had such great fabrics that washed really well. So here we go with just, you know, throwing it. This one was taken to a laundromat and pre-wash. If you didn't already learn the lesson of serging your pieces before you threw them in the washing machine, I was reminded of that with this job because of the frayed mess afterwards. And so reminder to, if you are pre-washing, serge your pieces. But you can see how well this one did in the hot industrial washing machines. There was no color loss. We could not detect any color loss in the prints, so we were quite pleased with how they held up. And actually patterning the cushions and all of that will be shared in that upcoming circle time. That particular design is available in 2 other colorways as well. It's Sky and Jade, and also in some engineered designs. This is an engineered poof where the design has been reduced, and so the leaves are quite a bit smaller than the regular fabric. And you can see that this is an engineered design for a 20 by 20 by 12 poof, where it grows up horizontally from the bottom, and then the top and bottom cuts don't have the bamboo petals at all or leaves at all. And then here's an example of another cylinder poof, but this one in that Nandina print. And here's an example of the pricing. So this is the workroom wholesale pricing, because engineer designs are only sold that way. And for a poof that you might need to, usually when you create a poof like this, you'd buy at least 2 yards because you wouldn't know where your repeat would line up. And so you'd need to allow for that. And but with the engineered design, things are already laid out with cut lines for you. And so we can charge simply for the length of the fabric. And just like all of our other engineer designs, when there's enough space to throw a swatch in, we do. Also on the Klimaka website, we have what we call the fabrication hub, which is also available for workrooms. And this is just where a place that we post videos and things where we're sharing fabrication techniques using the engineered designs. And so we do have a one of the poof ottoman tutorials already up on the website. That's something that's going to build out over the next several years. It's there's only a couple things up there now, but as the industry gets more familiar with engineered designs because of Klimaka Studios, this is, I think, the area where we'll end up with a lot of idea sharing and help people get into the use of them. So if you go to the website, if you're interested, if you like what you're seeing, I encourage you all to go to the website and click to fill out a trade application. That's where it all starts. That allows you to see the things that are not visible on a regular homepage for a retail client or even the trade account. Okay. The workroom account is a type of account you can apply for. And it's a really simple application process. Essentially, I can confirm you're a workroom just by your affiliations, and also with how you're promoting yourself in your own on your own website, your own social media. If you've attended CWC, that's also a clear sign that you're a workroom and you'd understand how to use these engineered designs. If you have a workroom account, then this is what, if you click on the workroom exclusives tab, this is what you'll see. You'll have access to proof inserts, you'll have access to the collection of engineered designs, and you'll have access to some marketing materials that are still being built out, but basically some stickers and things for workrooms. This is also where you'll see the fabrication hub. As a workroom account, you have, as I said, exclusive access to engineered designs. Others can't even see them. They're not even visible on the website if you are not logged in as a workroom account. And when you have access to them, you can see the pricing for them. And then for regular fabric, you also, workroom account, receive 60% off the published retail price, which is 20% off the trade pricing, which is good if you're, again, if you're to the trade. This is probably a good point for questions. I have a few other features to share,
I do.
but if there are any questions at this point.
Yeah, there is one question. For the engineered design items, is there a place on the website to put in your measurements for those?
Okay, so not at this point. Right now, the engineered designs are standard sizes. So for instance, the welt edge pillows are all made so that you could make, I'm not sure if it's a 23 or 22-inch pillow or smaller, right? You can use that square cut to make that size pillow or smaller. The knife edge pillows, I think, are designed, again, I don't recall the actual size, but a good size pillow that you could cut down. So we're not set up at this point for it to be completely flexible, because that would require a different file setup. And right now, it's not all automated like that. But what we do have are the engineered designs for the most popular sizes that can then be cut down to a particular size if you were looking for something smaller. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And if I recall, I think I have like an 18-inch engineered design pillow up to a 22. And I think
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think it might be a 23-inch square
Yeah,
that then can be made
and
into,
that's your seam allowance, kind of,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So here's a few other kind of features. Here's an example of an engineer design where we took palm stripe and created a diamond pattern. So that engineer design is quite interesting because the only way you'd get that is by piecing it, right? And so this one created an interesting layout with the fabrication efficiency you'd have on a regular welt edge pillow. So you'll see certain um, kind of creative layouts for certain designs that lend themselves to it. A little thing about shipping, the if you are local and prefer, so I'm in the Westchester, Pennsylvania area. If you're a local workroom, you can save on shipping and do a local pickup. You also can, create a side mark and have things designated so that you can easily sort them when they come back into your workroom. I know that's not, I know that's probably quite understood and available by other fabric companies, but this took us such a long time to actually get to work. I feel like I have to share with you. There was a big win for us to be able to put a side mark on orders. And then another thing that we're doing that might be unlike other fabric companies is when you are um, receiving the goods, you'll notice that if there's multiple fabrics rolled on the inside of the roll, there'll be swatches of them presented on the outside. So this way you don't have to, when you receive the fabric, you don't have to unroll it all to make sure everything's there. You can at least identify things from what's on the outside of the roll. That was some feedback we received from one of the beta workrooms and then incorporated into our regular functioning. That's how it would appear when you receive your fabrics. Engineer designs do not have that little sliver, but certainly all the yardage samples do. And then I did want to share this most recent edition. This is an engineer design. We're working with a new artist who has a wonderful watercolor, very beachy theme. So if you're working with any beach clients, this spring, you want to be sure and check out what's available there. But she's got crabs and lobsters and a mermaid print and all sorts of things. Very colorful, very beautiful. If this is your thing, check out the engineered design section because this one is one that is available. Again, 2 pillows, mini gingham on the bias as the welts. And then the back is like a picnic. We call it a picnic check. That one, big red buffalo check that is printed on the backside. And she's an original watercolor painter. Her name is Susan Alabashi. And we're real excited to launch some of her collections. So some have already launched, but we're working on several more right now. So there's another example of an engineered design. And I was trying to see if we can see the size of this one. No, we're all set with that. So there you go. Are there any questions?
No, but I love that. I love that lobster. I want to see
Isn't
some.
that cool?
Yeah, those are adorable.
Yep. And in fact, I can show you. If you can see where I am up in the little corner of your screen, this is the mermaid design.
Oh
And
yeah.
whoops, it's this way. That's the mermaid.
Mhm.
That pattern's called mermaid. It's like fish scales. And then there's the crab, the
Oh, that's cute.
Maryland blue crab. It's a beautiful one. So same artist. That's a knife edge pillow. And then here's a knife edge pillow of the lobster.
Very nice.
All right, thoughts or questions?
I think I've caught you, you've answered all of them. I've tried to catch you as we went.
Okay.
Oh, this was wonderful. Anybody have any other questions for Jeanelle?
I do. I do. I may have missed this, Jeanelle. This is Catherine.
Hi, Catherine.
This was amazing. You're always
Thank you.
amazing. But do you have the poof inserts available for purchase?
Yes, those are also on the website, but only for workroom accounts.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
And they're very nice poofs.
I have a client that I'm working with right now that I'm going to meet with her on Saturday to just find poofs.
Oh,
I think she would
interesting.
really like some of your things.
Oh, cool. So the poofs that we have, we actually make those in-house, and the fill is 100% K-pop.
Okay.
Which is a great natural fiber. It's what the back in the day, I think like World War I, they used K-pop to fill life preservers.
Oh, wow.
It's an interesting, but it's had made a resurgence now with the sustainability efforts, and it's a great fiber. So that's what they're filled with, and we make them in-house. We buy the K-pop by the bales and stuff them.
So what about the cylinder one? I think that she might like that one.
Yes, those are available. Just the inserts and also the engineered designs on the
Yes.
Klimaka site.
Okay. All right, cool.
Great. I was
Uh,
trying to get back to that. There we go. There was the cylinder.
yeah, right.
There's only one size for the cylinder and two sizes for the rectangle, the square ones.
Okay.
And I'm getting some very nice comments for you. What a gift to Workrooms. Love, love, love the program and designs. Thank you, Jeanelle. Can you love the quality, gorgeous patterns and everything is so thoughtful. Thank you. And you know, just everybody loves this, Jeanelle.
Awesome. Well, we're so proud, and we're also so grateful for the Beta Workrooms like you, Jennifer, who helped us
That was a
get
lot
to
of
this
fun.
point.
That was
And
fun.
yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And stay tuned, because every month that goes by, we're creating new designs and new engineered layouts, and would be very interested in hearing your ideas. If you've got ideas for certain layouts that you'd like to see, please share them. We have a Klimaka Studios forum set up on the Curtains and Soft Furnishings Resource Library. And that's where we keep those conversations going. And so that'd be a great place to hear from you. And
Certainly.
then I encourage everybody, if you have any interest in this, go ahead and just set up your account. There's no cost to do that. At least then you'll have access to everything when the right project comes along.
All right. Anybody else? No? Okay. Well, Jeanelle, I thank you very much. This was so inspiring and interesting. And I'm gonna have to log on and see some of this new stuff. I gotta check out the sea life stuff. I love it.
Wonderful.
So everybody have a great month, and we will see you back here in March. All right.
Take care.
Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.